But I think the biggest challenge you've ever faced in your life is getting diagnosed with cancer.
Getting diagnosed with cancer is a big nightmare, one of the worst things that can happen. So yeah, I started crying, freaking out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna die.
Is there like one piece of advice that you could give to someone who's maybe going through something similar? What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new World of Whaley podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest. He is known for his extreme moves and his outgoing character. He has been involved in the evolution of the sport from the very beginning. He's an absolute legend. It's Ruben Lenten.
What's up, G?
How you doing, mate?
Very good.
Good to see you, bro. I'm super excited to have you on this not very professional podcast. But yeah.
That's how we roll.
Our last guest was Aaron Hadlow, who's been my absolute idol since I was a kid. And you have definitely been inspiration for me for many, many years. So first of all, how have you been enjoying the Levante the last few days? It's been absolutely nuking, and you flew in from Holland to catch it.
Yeah, as soon as you look at the forecast, the nerves start building. But yeah, thanks for having me, brother. And yeah, Aaron has been my inspiration and my idol from the start as well. And so have you. Big inspiration with your journey as well. So thanks for having me on. And thanks for having me at your house here in Tarifa. Good vibes. And the Levante was definitely cranking. So
awesome.
Yeah, I've been enjoying that.
Sick, bro. And I heard you landed a double loop the other day.
Finally joined the double club.
Yeah, dude. It's so sick to see that you're still progressing after so many years, and you're still so involved in the sport and still like coming to the events, super involved with all of the riders and the formats. And I don't know, it's just, you see a lot of legends that they just come and they do their thing and leave, but you're still here, man. You're still rocking it and you're still progressing. How did that double loop feel to land?
I mean, it kind of felt like double the thrill, right?
Yeah.
As you get older, I think fear starts building as well. I think we all get blocked by fear, but yeah, when everyone is throwing doubles and you know that it's possible and they just hand you that kite. I mean, I never rode that kite before. In the first jump, I just committed to it. Otherwise, yeah, the fear just started building in my head. So I really, just had to go for it. And I'm glad I kind of skipped out the first one, kind of crashed it, and then the second and third and fourth one, nailed it. And now I kind of got the hang of it. So
epic, mate.
That's good.
All right, bro. So I'd like to go all the way back to your beginnings. I'd like to know where it all kind of started for you, at what age, where were you living, and like who kind of inspired you to get into the sport in the first place?
Yeah, I think that goes back to all the way on how I grew up with my parents. They were always hardworking, always very adventurous themselves. They were always jumping in the motorhome with the motorbike on the back, the windsurf boards, the surfboard. So yeah, I think it came from the family, and it's kind of in my blood. And also fortunate to grow up by the coast in a little beach town called Noordwijk. And then my parents got divorced when I was 6 years old, and then yeah, I didn't know. I was just always drawn to the beach. It was just my safe haven and where I felt best and free. Nothing on the horizon, just feeling the wind. And then I just saved up enough money for a power kite. And yeah, me and my friends were always playing on the beach, just flying the power kites and riding these beach buggies. And from there on out, it started progressing. I remember in the year 2000, I was about 12 years old, and we saw the first inflatable kite on the water. And then we were like, wow, that's what we want to do, right? And then Kevin started first, my cousin Kevin Langeray.
I think a lot of people don't know that, but your cousin is actually Kevin Langeray, which is it's pretty crazy. Yeah,
Kevin and Julu, I've been growing up with them. And yeah, Kevin started kiting first, then I started as well. So we kind of started competing against each other and started pushing each other. Oh, those are some feisty nails there, nice and sharp, baby. So yeah, then I just got started, got practicing. And I remember like the first get-go, like the first 100 meters were so difficult for me. It was a two-line kite, a 7 meter, very gusty conditions in Holland, like with the waves breaking. So not an easy start. Took me 3 to 4 months to learn. And yeah, then I just finally got the hang of it. I remember my dad cycling over the beach with me, and then I just got the hang of it on my directional board. And then I just started cruising and couldn't stop anymore. And yeah, awesome. From there on out, I started progressing.
Awesome, mate. So there's a few different people that kind of helped you get involved, and also the environment you were surrounded by. And your dad was kiting before you?
No, he was always windsurfing, snowboarding, motocrossing, so just being very active.
So you were near on that beach in Noordwijk, you started to see kites on the beach, and then Kevin was kind of, I guess, your inspiration at that time.
Exactly. At very early days, no kite schools yet, and yeah, just humble beginnings, you know.
Cool, mate. And yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about your character, because you're the kind of person that like walks into the room and everybody notices that.
Gets all the pussy.
Yeah, when did you kind of realize that you had that charisma, that character, that kind of ride hard energy that gets everybody stoked to go get out on the water? And how have you used that over the years to kind of create a brand for yourself?
Yeah, I think you kind of grow up with that energy, right? And yeah, even from when I was little, I was a daredevil, you know. My dad was trying to teach me turns and braking on the skis, and I would just go straight down, and no matter what happens, I would just try and go as fast and radical as possible. And that was just always my thing, you know, just adrenaline driven, I guess, and always looking for that energy. And with people as well, I was just always like open with everybody and making jokes with everybody and pushing everybody's buttons.
Yeah.
And I remember being 14 years old and being sponsored by Slingshot, being around the older boys in the team like Ben Wilson and Julian Sudrat and Jeff Tobias. And being 14 years old, I was just nagging them the whole time. And I was annoying them. And at one point, they just chucked me on the floor and Ben peed over me, you know. And I was like, geez, it's one of those famous kiting stories, right?
It's crazy.
Well, not so famous, sorry for telling it. Taking the piss.
Yeah, when you're a kid and like you get thrown into this world, you just kind of feel invincible, and you've got your goals so clear as a kid, and you got all the confidence in the world, and sometimes you cross the line, but you're always hanging around these older people who are also athletes, and then people kind of start to put you in your place a little bit. You learn the hard way.
That's the way you learn, right? Because you're, yeah, in the beginning you're not so aware, you think you're the shit at like 14, 15, 16, like you're invincible.
You were kind of though.
We were, yeah, already living the dream. Like we got sponsored, we were traveling the world and hanging out with older people, and yeah, you just get inspired with it, and yeah, with every challenge you get put in your place, and yeah, you start growing and evolving, and yeah, you get accepted by the sport. You start innovating with the with other riders around you, and yeah, I was fortunate enough to build up a name for myself in the industry. Also due to some challenges, I got injured and I couldn't compete anymore. So then I just started focusing on on free riding and riding storms, and that's how you build a name. And
so like going back kind of to your beginnings, I think you got noticed quite early. How did that come about? Like when was the first time you started to get noticed by sponsors and people in the industry?
Yeah, I remember very clearly that I just got my first four-line kite, a Weepica Airblast 8.4 from my dad. It was a white and pink kite.
Do you remember what year that was?
That was 2001, I think.
Okay.
And then there was the Dutch National Championships in Zandvoort. And I asked my dad, please, can we go watch? I really want to check it out. So he drove me there, and we checked out the event. And then Kevin was there, and another rookie. So we were about 12 years old, 13 years old. And then they decided to organize like a little rookie contest for us on the side.
Awesome.
So we were competing, we had our own heat. And I was very nervous, but I could do my first back roll and my first 720s. And yeah, from there, after that event, like I got second, and then on the beach I got in touch with Weepica. They were offering me some discounted gear, and no, that sounded good. But then Slingshot came about, and they were like, hey, they offered a better deal, and I felt more affinity with the brand. And then from there on out, yeah, I got into free gear, and then I actually got approached by a team that had a coach and a manager. It was the Philly Shave Coolskin sponsor team.
Okay.
So Stef de Jong, former Dutch national champion, he was my coach, and from when I was 14 they invited me on trips. I remember my first trip was to Tarifa with them, and yeah, they just taught me everything, like analyzing all my tricks with videos and teaching me how to travel, how to compete, and yeah, from there on out I just started growing and progressing. So their support has been amazing.
That's amazing that you got introduced, and yeah, I think a lot of riders don't really get that luck to get that team support and that mentoring from a young age, because this sport is a hustle, as you know. Everybody's in it for the passion, and yeah, sometimes you're a kid like traveling the world, like spending the money you've made on a summer job, and you know you're not really making it. So it's cool that you got that kind of education and mentoring from such a young age, and I think it's definitely shown throughout your career, you know, how you've navigated your way through it. So I want to talk about the year that you went to Maui for the, I don't know if it was the first ever Red Bull King of the Air?
No, the last.
The last of that
era, yeah. So
okay.
The Red Bull King of the Air started in 1999 in Hawaii, in Maui. Robbie Nash and Red Bull put together this event, and that ran until 2005.
Okay.
And I qualified myself in the Netherlands in 2004 to compete at the 2005 Red Bull King of the Air.
And you were around 17?
Yeah, I qualified at 16, and then at 17 I traveled to Hawaii. I won that
Amazing.
ticket, and yeah, I got to compete against the best big air riders in the world. And I was overall number 2 in the world at the freestyle tour. So to be competing in the big air tour was or in the big air competition was something totally different. But my style was very very made for it, because I was already doing like unhooked big air, like kung fu passes and stuff, big kite loops, big board offs, and yeah, that totally felt much better to me than all the technical handle passes. I was just better at it because I'm not that technical, you know. I'm rather like the power and fly. So this event, yeah, was made for me, and I ended up winning it against Robbie Nash in the final. And the conditions that year were absolutely crazy, man. Like 4-meter waves, barreling in hooky pine, and trying to navigate your big air moves through that was quite a challenge.
Amazing. So that event actually was after kind of you competing for some years at the PKRA, and then I think you had your best result that year as well, right? That you came second in the world. PKRA, for you guys that don't know, is the Professional Kitesurfing Riders Association. It was the world tour back in the day that ran for many years, and yeah, you managed to come second, but it was completely freestyle discipline, which was, you didn't really know at the time, but I guess that was the only thing kind of available at the time. So that's what every rider got into from the beginning. And then I guess when you competed in that event, you kind of realized that there's more to kiteboarding, and there's like a more extreme side to kiteboarding. And is that kind of when you made a bit of a transition and started pursuing the more extreme side of kiteboarding?
No, like I said, I was always more drawn to that kind of style. But yeah, like you said, the tour, the more common way was to be on tour with the freestyle tour, because that had 10 events, and occasionally there would be a big air event that Red Bull put on, maybe the Sky Ride here in Tarifa, or the Red Bull King of the Air. And yeah, for me it was the first year on tour in 2004 on the PKRA. Then I got 3rd overall. Then I trained hard here in Tarifa in the winter, and then I managed to get the 2nd overall. And then for 2006, I wanted to kick Aaron's ass, and I trained really hard again. I went to Venezuela 2 weeks in advance of the competition, and then I just got injured, and I couldn't make it that year for the points anymore. And I was never that much of a competitor. Like, winning was not in my blood. It was like, I don't care. So yeah, I missed my ranking that year, and then after 3 months of recovering my ligaments in my ankle, I was just at home, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do the tour, and I'm just gonna hang around here, get better. And then the storm started rolling into the Netherlands, and that's when I knew, like, this is me. So yeah, I found myself through that. So that is kind of when you made the transition, right? You got hurt, you had just been competing at this other event as well, and then you kind of identified way more with the extreme side of kitesurfing, with jumping, pulling the loops. And I remember those years, man. They were epic. All of the videos that you brought out with Slingshot on that Slingshot fuel. How was it to kite loop on those sea kites, those hardcore sea kites, compared to the kites we're using nowadays? You tell me. I think we should have a nice challenge with the boys. I should have brought some out, and then we could do like a gear swap. I try a double loop on your kite, and you try a single laid back on this one. So yeah, I mean, they were very difficult, powerful kites, almost like a truck, you know. Yeah, no D-power. No D-power at all. Slow steering, you had to really put in the power. Yeah, I loved it, but if I ride with it now, I don't know how I've jumped so high with it and how I managed to do those moves, man. So yeah, the gear came a long way, luckily, and yeah, the style back then was pretty radical. Yeah, but nobody was doing it. Yeah, that was the thing. Nobody was doing it, and then you started doing it, and then Aaron started bringing out some cool videos. But yeah, I just remember all the videos that you were bringing out from the Netherlands, going out in these typical like crazy storm, 50-knot days on your little 7-meter or 5-meter slingshot kite and just getting yanked. There's that one video that you get yanked onto the beach. That's such a sick one. Epic. Sometimes you look at a crash and you're like, oh, that's hurting, but then like just like a skipping stone, it doesn't hurt at all. Yeah. You are the inventor of the Megaloop. Of course, we have to talk about this. When did I guess people had done kite loops before that. Yeah. But yeah, when did the idea come to like change the game, and how iconic has this move been in the world of kiteboarding? Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult question because when did the Megaloop really get invented? Because kites were being looped already. The guys were even doing unhooked kite loops in Maui back in the day. For me, I really started working on it in 2003.
Maybe you can explain to the audience exactly what a Megaloop consists of first.
Yeah, of course. Like kites can loop, so if you jump with the kite in the air and you crank one side of the bar, the kite can spin around really quickly, and that's a kite loop. But this was mostly done to turn around or maybe small wind jumps. And then as we started progressing, we started getting more air time, and I basically started combining this with big air, so really jumping 10 meters and then looping the kite and then trying to get the kite lower and lower and really like get leveled with the kite whilst you're hanging at 10-15 meters height. And that's what I kind of started working on in 2003, and kind of got that click in a competition. I was competing against Aaron, and I was like, I have to jump as high as possible and get this kite around. And I remember the first try, boom, the kite hit the water and we come crashing down.
He told me he saw it in a competition in Belgium for the first time.
Yeah, that was the competition I'm talking about, exactly.
Yeah, I remember him telling me that.
So then I finally managed the second jump. I was like, I need to pull harder, and then boom, the kite came around, caught me, and then that was kind of the first Megaloop, because it was just so much more radical than just a kite loop up here. It was like really...
And was that getting scored in the competition at the time?
Yeah, I think so, because I made it through to the next round, and then the wind died, and then we were all ending up like a shared 7th place or something.
Okay. So that definitely became your signature move after that, and you definitely capitalized on it.
100%, yeah. And then like the more often you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. So then I came up with like plenty of variations on it, like even the back roll, the laid back roll, the boogie loop, and even unhooking, handle passing, and just playing with it.
Amazing, and it's come so far since then. I also wanted to talk a little bit about your friendship with Aaron. We had him on the first podcast, and it was epic to hear his stories, and we talked a bit about you as well. And for me, it's been always so cool to see both of you guys be friends over the years. If you put both of you next to each other, you're like such different people. He's like very introverted, quite quiet. He's
technical,
analyzes everything, and you're the complete opposite. Loud, make a lot of noise, super extreme, a lot of character, and also your styles, like very technical on the water, Aaron, very into competition, and you're all about being extreme, going big, and putting on a show. But it's been so cool to see your friendship, having these two different personalities and seeing how you both complement each other so much. Can you talk a little bit about your friendship over the years, like when you guys met and how you guys have pushed each other over the years?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's been an amazing journey, our friendship. I mean, from the moment that we met, we were just drawn to each other's energy. He brought me the calmness and the brains, and I brought him the openness, the fun, the humor, and the inclusion, I think. And on the water, the same thing. He would always show me the most technical things, and I would just add a bunch of power in there, and together we would just rise up with the biggest moves. He was competing. He was an only child, growing up in the van with his parents, traveling around, competing as hard as possible, really with his winner's mentality. And I was there. My parents were divorced. I had 3 siblings, so coming from a whole different background, and we just learned so much from each other, and we shared so much with each other. I just love him to death, man. And, you can see this in nature as well. You know, my wife, she's also completely opposite, I'd say. It's like a magnet, you know. Yeah, always a plus and a minus, and then you go together, right?
That's so cool, man.
Opposites attract.
And you guys also made that epic series together, On the Loose. I think it's still one of the coolest kiteboarding series to date. I used to be hooked to my screen waiting for them to come out.
Yeah, it was a dope time. I think in 2009 we produced the first series. I cannot find the first season anymore anywhere.
Did it get taken off the internet? Or?
Taken off the internet. I don't know who has the raws, and like, I don't know.
That sucks. I was about to tell everyone to go and check it out, but
no, I mean,
we have to
season
get it.
2 is there.
Okay.
Which Red Bull helped us produce and spread to millions of households on the television. So that was beautiful, and then we just relaunched it a couple years ago, and we just made 1 more season.
Yeah, sick.
It was pretty dope. Yeah,
that's amazing, mate. So, kind of after you getting injured and deciding to pursue this new extreme side of kiteboarding, you took some time off competition. You were chasing these massive storms, but a year came that you've always been involved in organizing events and bringing events to new countries. And there was this one year that you brought the Lenten Megaloop Challenge to Cape Town, I think in 2012.
Correct.
Yeah. How was that? I think that was kind of the transition of not having a King of the Air for about 10 years since 2005. And then I think that was the initiation of bringing back the Red Bull King of the Air, right?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be a Red Bull athlete for 12 years and work together with them on many projects. And my goal was always to give back to the sport and to create a platform for riders to make name, to create dope events. I mean, I didn't even want to compete in that event. I just wanted to create a cool format, see all the best riders compete, and then maybe, I don't know, just up the show with my personality and whatever. And Red Bull and I organized the Red Bull Boven NAP, it means above sea level, in 2010. And that was all about the highest and furthest jumps. And then I was like, we need to do something more with extreme big air kiteboarding. And then I convinced Red Bull to bring back the Red Bull King of the Air. But they were like, yeah, let's see where the scene is at, see how many riders are interested. So it's like, okay, let's do the Lenten Megaloop Challenge in Cape Town. And then, a lot of riders showed up. I think we had 24 riders in the field. Lewis ended up winning. You were competing there?
No. I don't know what age there, but I was super young. That's like just when I started competing in freestyle.
Come on, grow up, man. No, that was a really iconic event, and there, we just saw the hype from within the scene, but also the wow factor in the type of discipline. I think bigger is the wow factor of the sport. And then in 2013, Red Bull decided to make that the Red Bull King of the Air again, and back it was.
So I guess the concept of that event was to make kiting into a bit more of a show, make it a bit more exciting for a normal audience, maybe someone that doesn't really understand all of these technical freestyle moves. Because like when a guy rocks up to the beach and they see someone jumping super high, they're immediately hooked on it. But when they see a guy doing like a blind judge 5 or a double handle pass, they don't really know what's going on.
Or snake loop.
Yeah, or snake loop. And now the big air tricks have become so complicated, it's hard as well. So, but yeah, it was definitely super cool to see you bring that event back to light again. And were you very involved in the whole format? And
from the start, like always with Red Bull, super close on the format, on the direction the sport needed to go, which riders are obviously invited and how we invite them. Definitely involved big time. And then obviously we did the Red Bull Megaloop Challenge in the Netherlands. So the King of the Air came back to Cape Town, and the Megaloop Challenge went on in the Netherlands, which also just proved to be an iconic event and helped so many riders to make name for themselves and really put the sport on the map. And I'm very proud of that. Yeah,
it's definitely cool when a company from outside the industry gets involved with such a massive platform as Red Bull. Their distribution is just next level. Did these competitions motivate you to get back into competition, seeing as the format aligned a little bit more with your style?
No, again, like I'm not a competitor, or I've never been a competitor. I never cared about winning. I just won the world tour sometimes, or some world tour stops sometimes, and I wasn't feeling it, I felt bad for Aaron because he really cared, and then I see Aaron win, or you win, or Kevin win, like really the winner's mentality, and then I get goosebumps for them. I enjoy their happiness. I think that's one of the most beautiful things as well. And of course I competed again in the Red Bull King of the Air, but that was just, I don't know, for fun. I could have been much more serious, but maybe I didn't love myself enough, or I didn't see myself in a position, or I don't know, winning was just never in my energy. I don't know, not yet, never. I don't know.
So you've faced like so many different adversities in your life throughout your career, from losses in competition to massive injuries. But I think the biggest challenge you've ever faced in your life is getting diagnosed with cancer. Can you take us a little bit through your journey? Like how much of a shock was that to you, and how much did that change your life?
Yeah, no, I remember clearly. Getting diagnosed with cancer is a big nightmare, one of the worst things that can happen. And unfortunately, we all carry it, the malignant cells or cancerous cells. And if you stress your immune system so bad, or you don't regulate your body or your mind, then these cells have the chance to develop. And unfortunately, I think I pushed my immune system a bit too hard with traveling, with kiting, maybe smoking some spliffs, and maybe drinking, partying, whatever. And I remember I was in May 2015, I was in Maui, I just got there, and we were hiking up this Haleakala volcano, and we were gonna do a photo shoot with Nick and Jesse, and I get my gear out of the car, and all of a sudden I cannot put my other leg in front of the other to hike up the mountain. I'm like, can somebody carry my gear? And I was really struggling to breathe, and like I really had a hard time. So I think those were the first symptoms of me not being healthy. I just thought it might be some inflammation from the flight or a cold or whatever. So I just continued, and yeah, 5 months later in August, I traveled to Burning Man with my wife, Nikki, at that time fiance. And yeah, 3 days before going into the desert, I was like, oh, difficulty of breathing again, waking up in my sweat. And I was like, okay, let's go to the hospital, maybe get some antibiotics before we go into the desert. And then 1 minute before the doctor opens the door, they taken some x-rays. I started thinking, oh, what if it's something bad, right? I never thought of it. And then I was like, oh shit, it can be serious. And then they opened the door and I saw it on their faces, like, sorry sir, you need to go see an oncologist as soon as possible because you have a 9 by 9 centimeter mass in your chest. We don't know what it is because it was just from an x-ray. So yeah, I started crying, freaking out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna die. And then I was like, okay, I lived 10 lives in one already. If it has to be this way, it has to be this way. Let's tackle this challenge or take it on head on and do what we have to do. Then you just kick in survival mode. So I started texting my friends in the States who are very well connected with yeah, plenty of doctors. And they recommended for me to go to Stanford Hospital with some of the best specialists in the world on this type of cancer. And there it took them 2.5 weeks to figure out exactly what it was. So there you are in the hospital with your fiance, not going to Burning Man, but going to chemotherapy. And then, yeah, in the hospital, you already learn things can be so much worse, you know. I mean, of course, I have cancer, I need to go through chemotherapy, but what I saw in the hospital there already made me feel like, okay, I'm good, you know. I was very fit at that time. I had some weight loss at that time, from 75 kilograms to, I think, about 68, 67. So you could see something was happening with my body. Also, the mass was pressing on my vessels and my nerves, so my face was swelling up. That's why they gave me steroids. And yeah, then after they took a biopsy and did plenty of tests, every day you're like, oh, what is it, what is it, what is it? 2 weeks of that, and then they were like, oh, it's a mediastinal gray zone lymphoma, a very rare and aggressive type, but we have a recipe for it, a chemo cocktail which will most likely kill it. We have a case study of about 100 people that had this same type, and yeah, 80% survived. So from there on out, I was like, let's go do this. I'm fit. If this is the right medicine, then yeah, you have to do it, right? Your hairs fall out, your nails fall out, you shrivel from the inside, and yeah, I needed to take 6 rounds of 5 liters of chemo, so 30 liters over 5 months. So every 3 weeks I was in the hospital for 5 days taking down this chemo, and it's, yeah, the worst possible thing you can wish on anyone because it just kills you from the inside. And they just keep measuring you so they can crank up the medicine so that, yeah, it really kills all the bad cells, but they really crank it until you are barely alive. So it was a scary, scary ride, but I survived and also felt so much love and support from the community.
I was gonna say, yeah, it was
incredible.
It was absolutely incredible to see how the whole kite community came together and showed you so much love, you know, throughout those challenging times that you faced. And I guess you must have felt that, and that probably motivated you to get through it. And yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about like mentality. What kind of mentality did you have during the whole therapy? I guess you had to be really focused on being super positive and having the right people around you, and I guess maybe having your kiteboarding career and competing and all the adversity that you faced in your kitesurfing career before that maybe helped you in a way to have a great mindset. I have no idea, but
yeah, no, right on. I mean, everything is energy, and positive energy is always the best energy. So yeah, focusing on the benefits and not the drawbacks, I think is a big one. Focusing on what it brings you, see what it, yeah, if you can find a drawback for something, if you can find something negative, then there's always a positive to be found. I think that's how you keep yourself afloat. So it made me much closer with Nikki. It strengthened our bond. I had time to sort out my life. I had time to really think about what I want to do. And I also got given like one of the greatest gifts that, yeah, taught me a lot for everyday challenges. It's a course called I Discover 360. It's a deep study on human behavior and human nature. Yeah, designed by a good friend of mine, Gal Stiglitz, Israeli guy, and he gave me this course, and yeah, I followed his program, and I just got so many beautiful insights and lessons from it. I really got to know who I am in my essence, what my purpose is, how I can realize my dreams, and yeah, that everything in the world is equal drawbacks and benefits. It's nature, right? Everything is always in balance. You cannot, if you're progressing, you're also deteriorating somewhere, like you're putting stress on your body. There's always being something taken away, you know. And if you work a lot, you make a lot of money, the time is disappearing. I mean, it's always equal, and I think that is something that doesn't allow me to go down. And I thought I had a really strong mind through that, but then I still got into a burnout a couple of years ago, and I was like, how did it happen to me, you know? And I think a burnout is, I went really deep and down, and I think this comes from your dreams getting further and further away from reality. Yeah. And that's the gap, and then you just find yourself in a deep hole, you know. And
also your whole identity kind of being taken away from you, you know. You're Ruben Lenten, this kid with a dream, and it all comes so fast, and you have this amazing kiteboarding career with all these amazing sponsors and the traveling and the partying and the girls and, you know, this amazing lifestyle, and then everything's getting better and better and better, and then from one day to next your whole life just kind of flips upside down, and I guess in that moment you forget about all of that stuff, and you go into survival mode, and you go back to the basics, and you kind of realize that, you know, health is the most important thing than any of us can ever wish for. So yeah, man, that must have been a hell of a ride. And
100%. No, like I say, your identity, it's so connected to your passion, and through expressing yourself and performing on the water, and once that disappears, you feel so empty, and like, oh fuck, what am I doing? Everybody else is still progressing and I'm sitting here still, right?
I think a lot of injured riders go through similarities. I mean, it's not as heavy as, you know, having cancer, but a lot of riders who get injured kind of ask themselves, or they identify as a champion or as a kiter, as this guy with all the medals, or this guy that gets all the attention, and then all of that gets taken away from them, and they have a bit of a crisis and start to ask themselves, who am I without all of these things? Because you've never actually worked on that side of your character, on yourself, and I guess that really made you evolve as a human being, and made you learn to like love yourself without all of these 100%. Other exterior things.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. Exactly. You have to learn that, and you can only learn that when things are taken away and you are put in that situation. You really have to feel it and get in touch with that of yourself. And in this I Discovered 360 course, I also learned that, I mean, Steve Jobs said in his famous and inspiring Stanford commencement speech, you cannot connect the dots looking forward, only looking backwards. So then you start looking back at your own life, at your major life events, like your biggest challenges, what came out of it, like how did they make you grow, right? So my parents got divorced, that made me draw to the beach and start kiting. I found my passion for life through that event. Then getting injured whilst I was at my peak competing made me a free rider. Getting cancer made me go on my deep personal development journey. And this is how every big challenge is just coming out with so much beauty and power, and if you could know before, then you would be much calmer throughout the situation. So when I shattered my ankle, I applied that technique, and I have maybe fell down like 2 or 3 days in 2 years time, and like 3 surgeries, right?
I think that's what you learn as an athlete, you know, you get so many setbacks, and of course it's impossible to not get into like a negative state of mind, or feel depressed or down or unmotivated at times. But yeah, the more you go through those adversities, the quicker you're able to bounce back. And is there like one piece of advice that you could give to someone who's maybe going through something similar, big injury or life-shocking news that's completely turned their life upside down?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are struggling, especially in the modern world, right? It's pretty crazy and fast-paced world. So much is happening, so much is required from us, or we require from ourselves. So we put a lot of stress on ourselves, and then how others view us, and it's a lot, you know, like we can barely manage our normal lives, and then people come with good ideas and we just overflow, and it just becomes too much, right? And so if something happens then at that point, like, you just get swept off your feet, and or swept off your feet, and then you have to pick yourself back up. So just remember that you always will get back up, you will get through this, and challenges only happen to make you more you, so you are beautiful, so just enjoy the challenge and it's gonna make you grow, right?
Yeah, and what you said earlier as well is like, the bigger the challenge, the more beauty kind of comes out of it afterwards.
100%. And one mistake that I maybe made is being too positive, like trying to ignore the drawbacks. I mean, the drawbacks are there, they are allowed to be felt, they're allowed to be experienced. Whereas I was like, oh, just focus on the benefits, I have time for it. But then later on I felt that I was still carrying a lot of trauma and sadness and yeah, just emotions from the past, which I didn't really give the time to process. So grieve, cry, let it out, feel it. I think that is necessary as much as enjoying, you know.
Cool, mate. Well, we're super happy to still have you here. Absolute legend for getting through all of these adversities. Let's talk about something a little bit happier. I want to talk a bit about you as a DJ, your life in music. I know you have a great passion for music. How and when did that all come about?
Yeah, I mean, music has been making my boat float since I was like 8, 9 years old. Electronic music, getting my first CD, and
I guess it works quite hand in hand, being a professional kiter and being a DJ.
Yeah, there's a lot of good places to play, lots of good people, good vibes to be had. So yeah, I love soundtracking that and making people dance and spreading the good energy. But yeah, I think music always made me feel home, especially when I was traveling. But even before kiting, like I said, like when I was 8 years old, buying my first CD, 2 Unlimited, There's No Limit it was called. Then I was getting into like hardcore music, then into techno music, and then I started kiting and traveling. And lots of my friends were DJs, and I was going to plenty of festivals back in Amsterdam. And when I was traveling, yeah, there was nobody with me, so I was like, I always had my headphones and my music, and I just always felt in the zone with that. And then in 2009, I just started traveling with like a DJ controller and started, sorting my music collection a bit deeper. And now, yeah, with a 20 years deep record collection, it's definitely fun to take people on a journey and to make people dance and happy.
Yeah, we definitely see you at all of the after parties after the big kite events. It's sick to see you there commentating throughout the day with the riders throughout the day, and then still on the decks at 6 a.m. at the after party. So
let's go. Yeah, I love that.
So you're a family man, you have a beautiful wife and 2 kids.
So I have to be home at 6.
We got to get it done quick.
Straight for breakfast.
How do you manage the balance between all of those things? Being family, being a businessman, being a professional kiteboarder, and all of the other things, DJ, all of the other things you got going on in your life. How do you find that sweet spot, that perfect balance between all of these things? How do you find time for it all, basically?
Yeah, no, it is a pretty challenging situation to balance all of that, especially with the family, like 2 kids. They're now 2 and 4. It's been our toughest years for sure. And kiteboarding, it's not always stable. When I lost my sponsors, they said they don't want to continue. I was definitely stressing a bit. But yeah, you always find a way. I'm creative, and I always say, do what you love, and I love many things. And I feed little bits here and there, and it all keeps growing, you know. So whatever you put your energy towards keeps growing. So yeah, I put my energy towards my family, put energy towards my business, put energy towards my music, and obviously my health. And that's how I kind of keep feeding and flowing everything. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and then hopefully the next day it does, right? So take the kids to school, go for a workout, start working, then kite, and then play some music in the afternoon or evening. And then don't forget to put the kids to bed. And go on a date night with the wife.
It's a lot of things, a lot of pressure, but I guess that's being a kiteboarder is not like, you normally don't have the most kind of organized, structured life or personality, and I guess when you start to have a family, you start to have to be a bit more organized and structured and planned to make everything work and flow.
Yeah, it kind of happens for you, like you say. If you have the family, then the schedule gets a little bit more set. So yeah, then you try and structure and plan everything a little bit more accordingly and accurately. And then you also have a feeling that you're achieving something. I always was busy with so many things, but I never felt that I was achieving something. And it was pretty disappointing because I was never proud of myself or anything I achieved. I was already on to the next thing. So really taking a moment to reach your goal, celebrate your goal, and move on to the next. And you can have a couple goals at the same time in different areas, but definitely don't forget to pause and celebrate and be proud of yourself, because a lot is happening and life happens fast.
Absolutely.
And now I just started working with Kite Mana. They're my close friends, with the biggest kite shop in the world. And they invited me to come work for them, do some of their content strategy, some of their YouTube videos, some gear reviews, and some other concepts that I like to come up with. So that's been very fun to work with them, and it's only the beginning. And I've got many more plans up my sleeve, and I just hope to be in the sport for a long, long time, and to build a platform to unite all the kiteboarders so that we have one online hub where everybody can go, where we can all work together, where we find a place for all the media guys, where we can support the next generation with some advice and mentoring, where kiters can see which events are happening when all over the world, where we can communicate with each other, where we can coach kiters to the next level, where kiters pay a membership to support the sport, and where we can get big distribution for everyone's content so that we actually have some viewers going on the same platform.
So kind of connecting all of the dots and bringing it all onto one landing page.
I've had that in my mind for many years, but the energy is flowing that way and I can't get around it anymore. And the puzzles are falling into place, so I'm very stoked about that.
No better man to do it.
Thank you. World Kite Club. Here we come.
Awesome, mate. I wanted to talk to you about, like, the sport has been through so many different phases now, and now there's a lot of hype around big air. We've got some pretty cool events at the moment. Are you happy with the direction that the sport is going in at the moment?
I mean, there's equal drawbacks and benefits. No, I mean, you see some different styles in big air, and you will always see that in every sport, that there are some riders progressing the real technical side, there's some riders really pushing the powerful side. And I think there's a nice balance there, you know. These technical moves can also be a stepping stone for them to really rise in 1 or 2 years when they start adding the power again. But getting too technical, it will be a little bit confusing for the general public, I find. So I think a Superloop shortline competition will be a cool format to have. And just keep the power in the events. I think that's going to be very important. Now Red Bull is basically in charge of the events and the GKA. If they fall away, who's going to do it? So we depend on them, and that's why I want to create a platform altogether that we can also be in charge of our own sport and guide it the right direction, and then come up with many different formats for women, children, locals, the pros, for everyone. There should be events, online, offline, and there's much creativity to be spilled in there.
The sport has so much potential. It just needs a kind of steady and consistent path to take, and I think there's been many drawbacks, but I think eventually it will finally find its line, and we're going to get to a great place, and athletes are going to get paid more. Everybody in the industry is going to be more supported, and we're going to know in which direction we're going in. 100%. So hopefully we can be involved in that.
I'm sure. Who else is going to do it? Not going to let someone else guide our passion. Straight from the heart.
I wanted to end things off with, what is your best memory from your whole career?
Are we talking pussies? My best memory from my whole career. Poof, there's so many.
It doesn't have to be the best, but just an amazing memory you have.
Wow. Even this trip right here, just still being amongst the community and feeling the love and the energy and the connectivity. Just the love in the scene, and every time again. And
so you feel
to see where the sport and the community is at now, I think that's my favorite part, that it's coming together so nicely. And that everybody's so kind and supportive towards each other. To see Giel supporting all the guys and helping each other out, filming each other, and really having fun playing together, right? I think that's what it's about in the end. Life is about play, and through play we progress.
Absolutely.
That's how we grow.
So you look back at the sport, and the thing you appreciate the most is the community and how we all get along so well together. And I think in kitesurfing there's such a good vibe, like on and off the water. We're we're competitors when it's time to compete, but we're best friends when we're off the water, and we just all get along with each other and trying to push the sport in the best way. And yeah, you're definitely a man that's pushed the sports in many different ways. Thank you so much.
Luke was talking, man. Thank you, brother. Love you, man.
Oh, my neck. Yeah, I forgot. Ruben fell out the sky and whiplashed his neck the other day.
Some MRI scans. Nothing on the hand.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully we can do many more of these. Thank you, Ruben Lenten, for coming on. Let us know in the comments who you want to see next on the podcast. Peace.
Cheers, guys.